Welcome to this Yoga X breathing practice. Whatever position you have chosen for this practice, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable and safe. From that place of safety, I invite you to draw your attention to your breath. In our day-to-day life, we take the breath for granted, knowing that inhalations and exhalations will simply happen. Through yogic breathing, we begin to become aware of our breath more directly and more mindfully. When we begin to have that awareness of our breath, we can also begin to use the breath to bring ease to our body and to bring calm to our minds. In our breathing practice today, we will explore the yogic 4-part breath. In yoga, the breath is considered to have 4 distinct sections. The inhalation, that brief pause or gap at the top of the breath as the inhalation turns into the exhalation. The exhalation, and the bottom of the breath as the exhalation turns into the inhalation. And so as you attend to the breath in the next few moments, become aware of this 4-part cycle within the breath. Perhaps begin by paying keen attention to your inhalations, noticing how the breath flows into your body. Maybe getting a sense of coolness in the nostrils as the breath travels in. Maybe noticing the inhalation in your throat, or sensing it in the rising of your belly as your diaphragm moves downward to create the space in the lungs for air to travel in and to expand the lungs. Gently become very familiar with how the inhalation feels in your body. And maintaining awareness of your inhalations, draw your attention now, your curiosity, to your exhalation. Noticing how the out-breath reverberates in your body. Perhaps you notice the gentle drawing in of the abdomen as the diaphragm moves back toward the lungs. Perhaps you feel the exhalation as it travels out to the throat. Perhaps you notice the out-breath as air traveling out through the nose. Continue to attend to your exhalations with that sense of curiosity, that sense of meeting your out-breath for the first time. And then perhaps pay attention to both inhalation and exhalation as they unfold in your body. Noticing perhaps that the air in your nostrils is cooler when you inhale and warmer when you exhale. Noticing perhaps how the rib cage expands with the inhalation and contracts with the exhalation. Noticing perhaps how the belly rises as you inhale and falls as you exhale. Maintaining awareness of that rhythm of your breath, expansiveness with the inhalation, contraction with the exhalation. Begin to draw your attention now to the top of the breath, that moment between the inhalation and the exhalation. And just notice if there is even the smallest pause or gap, a moment of complete stillness before the in-breath becomes the out-breath. Maybe the gap is very small in this moment. Over time, this gap may begin to be longer as you give it attention and as you explore it with curiosity. Perhaps you notice that that point at the top of the breath is a point of quiet, of calm. A point of stillness in the breath that allows you a moment of quiet, a moment of peace. And then draw your attention in the same way to the bottom of the breath, the gap between the exhalation and the inhalation. Notice if there is even the smallest pause at that point in the breath when you've given everything away. And maybe this pause or gap is very short today in this moment. Over time, this gap may increase as you explore it with curiosity and encourage that moment of freedom, of having released what you no longer need. That moment of perhaps not grasping for the next breath in. And then allow yourself to enjoy the entire 4-part breath. Breathing in, finding the gap at the top of the breath, however short. Breathing out, and finding the pause at the bottom of the breath, however brief. Enjoy this way of appreciating your breath. And perhaps recognize, even in this short practice, how paying attention to every part of the breath is calming for the nervous system. Ultimately, the capacity to recognize the gap at the top and the bottom of the breath translates into the capacity to take a break between stimulus and response. When we can appreciate the gap in the breath, we also can create a gap between incoming stimuli and our reaction to them. Taking that moment, that gap, that break, to become responsive in the world rather than reactive. If you have the time in your life in this moment to continue to breathe your 4-part breath, you might continue on for 5 or even 10 more minutes. If you need to close the practice now, I invite you to take 2 or 3 more rounds of breath. And then whenever you are ready, reopen your eyes, become aware of the outer world, and then begin a gentle transition back into a more active moment.